Hey, so I just took my system apart, put it back together. You guys all watched it. Hopefully I did a good job. We're gonna test it out right now. I haven't tested it yet, so it may be higher TDS than I want, but you'll see. So I'm gonna show you how this thing works, how to put it together for every use. A lot of you will actually have this mounted and attached to your RO already. So this is just my setup. I don't have it attached originally. All I do is I hook up the water to the inlet. I just have a hose that I can turn on and off from here, from this point. I take this end, stick it inside the inlet on the RO, which is generally going to be the top side for most of you. And then it's going to go through, make sure that this valve is shut off, because I actually opened it earlier. Make sure this valve is shut off. And one thing you're going to want to do, make sure your garbage water, your concentrate water, is somewhere that you're not going to be kneeling in. So we may have to move this back a little bit. I'm just going to send it through the fence there. All right, so we're almost ready. Now, when you're running this thing, on another video I told you that you do not want to run straight from your RO into your DI when you first start. The reason being is that when you've used your RO recently, or even when it's been sitting, there's a lot of junk that gets accumulated inside of it, and your first minute or two of water that comes out of this is going to be absolutely nasty. You don't want that going into your DI, because remember, that's the most expensive part. This is the part you're going to be replacing possibly most often, depending on how you use it. But it's going to cost the most over the course of the use of this machine. So just keep that in mind. Make sure that you do not run this water from the RO straight through here until you've first tested it and you're satisfied with it being low. So actually, before I do this, I'm going to tell you exactly how high the TDS of this water is straight out of the faucet. So today, it's a little bit low. I don't know if you can see, it's 405. That's low for us here. For most of you, that's going to be super high. You'll never see that. So now, plug this back in. So it goes into my carbon filter first. Reverse osmosis comes out here. Make sure that at this point, when you're about to turn this on, you want to make sure that your concentrate line, so your outside line, not the center tap, but the outside line, is turned on a little bit. And really, you're probably going to want to make sure, for a lot of you, you can do this. For some of you, you might not be able to. Make sure that these two lines start spitting out about the same amount of water. Okay? It's going to take a little bit because I emptied everything out earlier. So give it a second. No real leaks so far. That's a really good sign. All right, here comes the water. So your concentrate water is coming out first. Still needs to build up some pressure to get this out, to get good water out. In fact, I'm going to close the concentrate water a little bit so that there's more pressure that goes into your main line, your center tap here. So you're always going to want more water or equal amounts of water coming out of your drain than your center, just because of the efficiency of this. So this water is going to be really bad, maybe even higher than your 400 there. Yeah, so this is 679 at this point coming out of this. No good. But that means that this is doing its job. Let's see what the good water looks like. Our good water is at 101. Now, for some of you, you'll be fine with using that in your DI. I'm not, because I don't want to be changing out my DI more often than I need to. So let me check again. This number will drop, and I'm gonna toss this over here so I'm not getting myself all wet. see what that looks like now. It's down to 45. So from 400 to 45, that's what this RO is doing. Let's see if we can do a little better than that. And really, you'll be able to fine tune it by turning the concentrate water up or down. But let's see what we can get without doing that even. We're down to 35 now. Let's give it another 10, 20 seconds here. I can see the water slowly creeping over to me, so looks like I'm going to be wet after this. So we were at 35. Let's see what we're at now. 31. Honestly, that's pretty close. We're like a little over 90%. Probably like 92, 93%. I'm pretty happy with that. Let's see if we can get a little lower first though. 30, yeah. So about 92, 93% of our contaminants are out of the water. I told you not to drink this before. You could drink this possibly. Probably not good for your health, but you could. I wouldn't drink it after it comes out of the DI, even on a hot day when you really feel like it though. So now that we're down to about 30, I'm gonna put it in here into the DI, and make sure that your valve on the DI is open. Otherwise, you're gonna build up pressure where you don't want to. I may even close this off just a little bit more. It's gonna take a second for this to come spilling through, so just bear with me. Okay, so good. We got water coming through. And so far, no leaks to speak of. Let's see what's coming out here. It's coming out 002 from 30 to 002. Let's see if we can do better. (002). That tells me I might need to do something to change this up. I think I know why that's happening though. I forgot to fix it before in the video. What happened in one of our other videos was that when I was taking this apart and putting it back together, we had the DI chamber, there was a gap in it. It was not full all the way. When that happens, water can pass by the DI, that resin, without getting cleaned. It can create a path in there. Like, as the water is going by, it creates its own highway. Instead of passing by each bead of the resin there, it's skipping it. So that's probably why we're having a little bit of an issue here. So I would call that a very successful trial. In our last video, we took everything apart, put it back together. Remember, we greased everything. We got it down to 002 from 405. So that means that we did a good job putting everything back together, making sure there's no leaks. If you get above 005, anything beyond that, I would check to make sure that you don't have a leak somewhere. Most common leaks that cause a little bit of extra TDS in there, extra salts in the water, that generally happens over at the DI chamber. So if you look at that, you have some leaks, likely that's the problem. So check that, make sure that you don't see any water coming down off of it in a spot that's not supposed to. Even if your fittings, make sure your fittings are tight. If they're leaking, tighten them down a little bit. Be careful not to over tighten it and mess up your threads, but make sure everything's fairly tight. If you do all that, you should be golden. You should be ready to go. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you have a great day and have fun.